Good morning, everyone that has joined so far. Welcome to the TRIG 2023 application support webinar, general questions and answers on the application that you're filling in. We're just going to give a couple more minutes to see whether anybody else joins, and then I'll just
Ruth might be experiencing some technical difficulties with Wi-Fi, just in case I'm jumping in here. If I'm speaking over the top of you, Ruth, and it's actually my own Wi-Fi, I sincerely apologise. But yes, we'll wait a couple minutes to let everyone in, and then hopefully Ruth might return or my internet may steady itself.
Hi. Good morning, everyone. Anna, if you could come on screen, that would be great. Fantastic. Good morning, everybody. Sorry, I just dropped off. My internet cut out and I had to log back on again. Welcome again to anyone that wasn't here earlier. This is the TRIG 2023 application support webinar for questions and answers that are related to the application. We had the finance and budget question and answer session yesterday. I'll just go through a couple of the answers of that in a minute. First of all, for those of you who don't know, I'm joined by my colleague today, Anna Kerr, who is the Innovation Funding Officer and working alongside me on TRIG 2023. Say hello. You're on mute, Anna.
Classic. I use this technology every day and I still manage to not unmute myself. Apologies, everyone. Good morning. Yes, I'm Anna, Innovation Funding Officer here at CPC. I was helping out a little bit on the webinar yesterday that covered some of our budgetary stuff. And then I'll be here today just in case any other questions that might relate to what I do pop up. And I'll hand back to you, Ruth, and remember to put myself off mute.
Brilliant. Okay. Just to let everybody know that today's webinar will be recorded. And if you wish to raise your hand and ask a question live, you have the ability to do so. But if you do have any further questions, then please put them in the Q&A. Just go through a couple of the outstanding matters from yesterday. There will be an updated FAQ going up online either by the close of play today or by tomorrow morning. But if the people were on yesterday or on today, with regards to the question on whether you can put in your costing claims for employer liability or public indemnity insurance, then no, we are not able to pay for public liability insurance or employers liability insurance because these are costs that we would expect a business to have anyway, and they are not directly linked to the TRIG delivery project. So if you remember from yesterday, anyone that was online, any cost that goes in the budget has to be directly linked to the delivery of your TRIG project. That is the key overriding arching matter here, and therefore insurance premiums are not covered by that. So that was the first one. The second one was somebody asked whether they could start their project earlier. We do appreciate that TRIG projects may be part of an overall larger project that is ongoing, but you are unable to start your specific TRIG project until the 1st of April. From the day that you sign your contract and you're aware that you have been awarded a TRIG grant to when you start the program is a very short time frame, maybe 2-3 weeks max. So there probably isn't any opportunity to start anyway, but we would like you to start your actual TRIG delivery on the 1st of April and not before. So that covers the questions that were outstanding from yesterday. Those will be updated into the FAQ when it gets uploaded. Excuse me. If you don't remember what I said, then it will all be there. So let's see, we have, Anna, you've just answered that question, haven't you? Yes, Brian, we will be able to put yesterday's webinar will be going on when we have the recording for today, and both of them will go on at the same time. So does anybody have any questions for the application? Should the project plan be pasted into the application or uploaded as a separate file? There is the ability, please, to upload that as a separate file. So when you go into that section on the application form, it says upload, and it will tell you the file designations that you are able to upload. So as long as it's one of those designations, please can you upload your project plan? And I'm assuming by your project plan, please correct me if I'm wrong, that you mean the Gantt chart, the milestones that we're asking you to input. So if it is that, yeah, then please upload as a separate file. Thank you. So next question, regarding the application, do the words in table account for the 500? I'm not quite sure what you mean by table, but any upload with regards to the Gantt chart or the budget are not included in the word count. So anything where it says word count 500 and there's the space for you to put it in, that is what the word count includes. Did I answer that question correctly to the person that asked me? Did I understand what you meant by table?
I might jump in and just add something in case. Oh, brilliant. In which case, yes, you have, Ruth. Gosh, I'm just jumping the gun for no reason. You're miles and miles ahead. But yeah, that's exactly what Ruth said. That's
great. Thank you. Does anybody have any more questions? No? Oh, here we go. When preparing our application, would membership of a company, for example, Italy, count as industry representation? Could you just explain, do you want to come online, Ivan, and just explain what you mean by that question, as in representation for the project? As in, do you mean that using a non-UK domiciled company as a partner count as industry representation? Yes. Absolutely. It doesn't matter where your partners come from. The only restriction on TRIG is that if you are paying your partners, that only a maximum of 50% of your TRIG grant can go overseas to non-UK domiciled companies. So if it is that you're partnering with a rail company in Italy and they are providing you with testing facilities or anything like that, absolutely, there is no problem with that at all. What we are saying is that the economic benefits of TRIG should be predominantly going to companies within the UK, which is why we've set a 50% limit on any subcontracting out of UK domiciled companies. And I hope that answered your question. If not, then please do ask again. Next question, is the level of interaction with the Department for Transport on the project on the Coffee Connector? So the way that it works is that if you are successful with your TRIG grant, you will be invited once a month to what we call a Coffee Connector and networking event, at which time your Department for Transport policy leads will be there, and in your little challenge area, you will be able to engage with them. Now, each of the different challenge leads, you will also be able to get that email. You will be able to engage with them. Now, what we suggested, please do not inundate your challenge leads with emails and requests for things that they cannot do. They're here to support you, but they're not here to provide you with testing facilities. They're not here to provide you with data that all their data is online, as they mentioned in the formal webinar that we had on the 9th of November. They're not there to get you things to help you with your project. They're there to ask questions of, do you think this might work, or what's the policy on this, those kind of questions. But they're not just there for the networking, they are there to help you for the 6 months. Hope that answers that question. one is done. Anna, do you know whether there is a maximum file size for the Gantt chart? Off mute.
Off mute again. I think the maximum size is about, actually, I'm not going to hazard a guess, but it'll be somewhere between 10 to 50 megabytes. But I'll double check that. And if we need to make the megabyte size any bigger, if we need to increase it, I mean, I'm happy to do that, because if we want to make sure we're covering all the key points, then that's fine. But it should be big enough for your average Gantt chart.
So Richard, when I have a chat with you later, can you tell me whether you can upload your Gantt chart? And if not, then we will get on to see whether we can increase the size of the uploads. And Ivan, not a problem. So hopefully we've answered your question. And Anna, I'm going to ask this one of you. Can diagrams, images be attached to the application?
Currently, we haven't got that functionality built into the application to paste images directly in. However, we are going to be looking into something that is something we could incorporate. In terms of any specific diagram related questions, do feel free to email the TRIG inbox, and we should be able to find a solution to get those included.
The challenge with uploading excuse me, images though is that and diagrams is that the space might be too much, and we expect a lot of applications to come in, and remember, an assessor is going to have to read and understand your diagram. You know, if the diagram's inserted and it's quite a complicated thing, then it's not going to help.
Yeah.
Remember what I said in the webinar on the 9th of November, you need to be able to put your application in layman's terms. There are technical experts that are reading it, but think of it that I'm reading it. I'm not a transport expert. So if I can understand your innovation, what it does, what solution challenge is, without having to look at a diagram, then that is the ideal way of doing it, which is why we don't at the moment allow you to upload diagrams. But as Anna said, if it is a specific one that you cannot explain in plain English without putting it in, please email the TRIG inbox, and we will see. Cannot guarantee whether we can upload it for you. Excuse me. I missed yesterday's session. Interested to know the requirements of the liability insurance. Is there a link to the recording? There will be a link to the recording, and the requirements are in the application form. We do require that you have public liability insurance in place when you deliver your project. This is a standard thing that we would not, it's a reputation thing, and we wouldn't want anything to happen to anybody as a result of us funding an innovation that didn't have any public liability insurance. So it is vital that that is in place. The employer liability insurance, of course, logic, only if you employ people. But if you employ people, we would then expect as a normal business cost that you would have employer liability insurance as well. But the recording will be online. I'm hoping by first thing tomorrow morning, but we're just waiting on our marketing team to get that up there. So I hope that answers that question. Can some of the budget be dedicated to funding focus groups? Absolutely. Yes, you can. Put that in the other costs. Make sure you detail what it relates to. So put it in the description and and in the actual wording for the budget. So just make it clear that X amount of your budget is relating to focus groups. It is perfect that you want to include that in the delivery of your project. So yes, we can indeed fund that, but just make it clear where that cost is going, because of course you only have lines for certain things and it would have to go under other costs. So please put it in there. Next question. Do you need to identify all project partners at the We don't need letters of support, Mark, but we do need you to identify all the project partners. For example, if you say to us, we're going to have 3 project partners that are going to help us deliver the TRIG project this year, but you don't detail who you are, we're going to say, well, have you actually got them? Do you know who they are? Is there a risk that you won't get them and therefore your TRIG project can't be delivered? So that is why we need you to identify all the project partners at the submission stage that gives us confidence that you have got your partners in place and that you know what you're going to do. We do not need the letters of support, but we need to know who they are to give us confidence that you have them in place before the project starts. Question 22. Last year we had, is the answer to question, Anna, could you just look up question 22, please?
Yes, I'll look that up quickly in the background now, but I'm currently sharing screen, so I'll do it on my work phone, and do you want me just to chirp up, Ruth, when I've got that ready to go?
Yes, please. And I'll ask Lenny's question. Would it be okay to interact with the DFT to gain their knowledge and input on creating a policy? You can as I said, each individual DFT challenge lead has their own job to do. So this is a small part of their job. Ask them the questions that you would like. They won't be able to necessarily change policy. What they want to do is they want to understand from you, the users, the creators of innovations, what changes you think policies should be doing. These things don't happen overnight. So you can interact with your DFT challenge leads, but they will only know the policy that's written down. They need to know from you and as many people as possible what changes to policy are required. There's no guarantee that those policies will be changed, but the more information that they get from users, from innovators, from SMEs, to that policy needs changing, then it goes through the process. Does that answer your question, Lenny? I hope so, but if not, then I'm happy to answer something else. Either offline or on this webinar. Next question from Lenny is, I'm fairly certain, but please could you confirm that the DFT priorities that the application mentions to make reference to growth the economy? Absolutely. And there is a link in the FAQs directly to that, those strategic aims. So if you go into the FAQs at the bottom, there will be a link to those DFT strategic aims. But well done. Thank you very much, Lenny. They are exactly the ones that we are referring to.
Ruth, sorry, I'm just diving in here to try and say that I can't currently load the link on the phone, so it might be worth you pulling that up in the background if you can manage that on your laptop. Otherwise, I'm going to end up stopping sharing screen, and we all want to see the lovely TRIG slide sitting in front of us all.
Just bear with me. I will get up question 22. I did download everything earlier.
I see you're miles ahead of me in the preparation.
Let's just get up 22. Just bear with me. 22. So has your company participated in any CPC programs within the past 3 years, or is currently applying or actively involved in any? Now, let me see what the question was. So the answer to the question is yes, Richard. So you applied, but you haven't been successful. So yes is the answer to that question. And then the next question from you is question 40. So question 40, do we tick one or multiple boxes? Bear with me. Question 40 is multiple. Actually, I'm actually going to check that. I think that you can do multiple. Anna, choose a subcategory with your project most closely aligns. Is that a multiple choice one? I haven't got that one up. It is.
We're happy for multiple on that one, and we'd encourage us so we can get as specific an idea as possible of which section we can fit you into, really. And we'll be having technical assessors make sure that you're assigned to the right one.
Brilliant. So hopefully that answers your question, Richard. Jamie, my pleasure. Lenny, when discussing the method of how we would measure our outcomes, would feedback forms be sufficient, or would you like to know specific questions? Feedback forms would be sufficient in that you only have a very small word count to be able to do that. If you give an example of, that would be fantastic, but we don't need you to list all the specific questions, because I don't think you'll have the space nor the word count to be able to do that. And I'm assuming that feedback forms would be one small part of the outcomes, measuring the outcomes of your research. So put that they would be feedback forms and one example of the questions, or link it back to your solution, etc. So everything has to flow. So if you're saying that you're using feedback forms for X, Y, and Z, then you would measure it using the outcome and analysis of those feedback forms using X, Y, X, Y, and Z. Hopefully, Lenny, that answers your question. Isa, not being in the meeting yesterday and being fresh for the whole practice of TRIG application, is there a way we can find potential cost types that you had in previous applications for projects, just to be sure that we do not miss any of them? We're unable to share the budgets that we have submitted for any of the TRIG applications for any of the previous programs. So unfortunately, I can't give you any specifics, Ivan, but if you do look, I would recommend that you look at the application guidance, which gives a lot of examples around what you can and cannot include. I would also recommend that when the webinar from yesterday is live on the website, there's a lot of questions and answers in there that will be able to help you with regards to day rates and what you can and cannot include. So definitely listen to that when it's online and look at the first webinar, because there's a lot of questions in there. And then definitely ingest the application guidance and FAQs. If you could just, yes, Lenny, just if you email the TRIG inbox, I will take that offline with you. Next, anonymous, can we use the TRIG to evaluate the security, access, and cloud? What I really should have said at the beginning of this webinar is that we are unable to answer or advise on any scope questions, whether it is in or out of scope. So the question saying, can we use TRIG to evaluate the security, access, and cloud resources for a transport behavior data sharing platform is a scope question. There is specific grant specification guidance on the website, and we ask you to refer to that and also to the recording of the 9th of November to decide yourself whether your innovation is in or out of scope. So unfortunately, I'm not able to answer that. I am able to answer, is it eligible to start TRL 2 and to ensure we are offering value for money from grants to finish at TRL 6 or 7? Yes, as long as you are eligible to start, as long as your innovation is not exceeding TRL 4 to begin with. The further down the TRL scale that you get when you finish your project, the better. Absolutely perfect to get. I mean, we don't find very many projects. It's very rare that they finish at TRL 6 or 7. We tend to find they finish at TRL. If they start at 2, they tend to finish at TRL 4, possibly 5. So it is not a problem that if you start at 2 and finish at 4. If you get to TRL 6 or 7, brilliant. But it won't make any difference to the assessment of your application. So I hope that answers that question. Looking at the scoring notes, looks like it's marked out of 60 in that, yeah. So the scoring is weighted. It's quite a complicated scoring system, and I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of it, but it is all robust and triple checked. And the innovation section correctly is not marked. We ask for 500 words on how innovative your project is. And what we use that is like an overarching one, because innovation is embedded throughout the application. So there's not a specific one, and it will be used as a reference to understand how innovative your project is in relation to the rest of the questions. I hope that answers that, Richard. Hello, Michelle. Not a problem, this is being recorded. Lenny, are we responsible to put forward the place and partner we will be working with to launch our product for TRIG? If you have already a place and partner in place, then please put that down. It does not matter that you are testing or launching your product, we understand to be at TRL 9, and that is a commercial product. So when you're saying launch your product for TRIG, I'm going to assume that you mean at the end, so not within the TRIG program. If you already have a plan in place that you are applying to TRIG under a TRL 1, 2, 3, or 4, and you get accepted, that your plan is already down the line to commercialization, and we do ask for a section on commercialization. And if you already have a place and partner in place for that commercialization, please put it in that section on commercialization. And it does not matter if that place and partner is outside of the UK, because that is your own commercial decision. Hopefully that answers that question, Lenny. Is it possible to submit more than one proposal at one time? You are more than welcome to submit more than one proposal for each challenge area, and you are more than welcome to submit more than one proposal in more than one challenge areas. However, and I've said this quite a number of times, please be mindful of the number of grants that are being awarded under TRIG 23, which is 40. The number of grants per challenge area are detailed under the grant specification that is on the website. So if you are going to spend a lot of time thinking, if I put it into every single challenge area because it's multimodal, then just please be wary of that. We don't like the scattergun approach. We like you to hone in on where you believe the greatest benefit of your innovation is going to lie, and then concentrate on that one. There's no restriction on you applying many times, but we would, if it is multimodal, you're going to have to think about how your innovation benefits that specific challenge area. This little smiley face from Ivan. And thank you. And next, Richard. Is there an example of the level of detail required for the closeout report? So we can, that really, you will be able to understand that if you are successful in your TRIG award. Really, these webinars are for understanding what you need to get your application submitted. There is plenty of support and examples that we will provide if you are successful in gaining a TRIG award. So please don't worry about that at this stage. Could you please provide some examples of what you would expect to see when demonstrating how we support EDI within the project management question? I would say recommend reading the application guidance and FAQs on that. It's quite detailed what we look at for EDI. We are very keen on understanding equality, diversity and inclusivity, and what you as a project are doing with that. So it sort of embeds, again, a bit like innovation, EDI should embed in your projects, but we just like you to detail how you support equality, diversity and inclusivity within your project. The only thing I can say is read the guidance, because that gives some details, and I can't give specific examples of what we recommend or anything, because there isn't an answer for that. It's how you are embedding EDI within your business, your project, your innovation. Frank, hello Frank. My project would benefit one sector, maritime, but could benefit other sectors. Is there a preference or focus on wider applications? I hope that's partly linked to what I've just answered a couple of questions ago, is that there is no restriction on applying to different challenge areas. However, again, think about where the main benefit of your project would lie. So there are only 40 grants being awarded for TRIG 23. There will be future TRIGs, but there are only being 40 awarded for TRIG 23. So think very carefully which of the challenge areas your innovation most benefits. Nothing stopping you, Frank, to put one in maritime and one in the open call or any of the others. But please bear in mind that we would expect that you would think carefully about where the most benefit lies. Are there any limitations on how many can, question 44? Let me just get up to question 44. I will be with you in just a second. And I know you might think that I have all the questions memorized, but I don't. So on that one is, for this question, please consider the desired outcomes of your projects. Let me just see what you have put in there. Yeah, you can structure the answer to your question as you like, Lenny. All I would say is make it clear. It's got to be readable. However, if you want to use bullet points or anything, it doesn't matter. We're not prescribing how you answer the questions or how you structure the questions. We're just saying, please make it as clear as possible. It's still launching a test product, but we need a place partner to do this with. Yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely, Lenny. So when you put products, if it is just the test, then that can be outside of the UK. Again, the restriction is no more than 50% of the funding to be provided to any business, organisation or company domiciled outside of the UK. Question 60, are there any examples? Let me just, well, Just to answer that question, Richard, that would be your awards, recognitions, or achievements. I can't give you any examples, but if you have a business or an innovation, if it's got any awards already, then please put those down. I wouldn't say that Mark, this is answering Mark's question. You can submit more than one application in a challenge area, and more than one application to, you can do one in each challenge area, but it's not the same. Each of the scopes are very different. So I would not expect to see an application, the same wording being put into an open call as to being putting maritime, because there's no restriction in you putting a number of proposals in, but as I said, each one has to be specific. It has to be thought about. Where does the main benefit lie? You can't submit the same proposal into multiple bids, but you can put multiple bids in, but you have to be very careful about how you word those, because the application has to be linked to the scope, and you won't be able to put an open call one linked to a maritime one, because it would be rejected, because it's not linked to the scope. So when I say you could submit multiple proposals, I'm saying yes, you can, but you have got to be very careful as where the benefit lies, how you're working on your application, which is why I say yes, you can, but be mindful of the number of awards being given, because these applications are not done over, in 10 minutes. These applications require a lot of planning, a lot of effort, a lot of understanding the scope. Where does it fit in? So we don't tend to see lots of applications for multiple challenge areas. Last year, there were a couple of businesses that did that. One of their applications got through, two of their applications got through, but each one was a very different application. It's just that their innovation went into different areas, but they did specific applications for those challenge areas. Hopefully that answers your question, Mark. Not a problem. Lenny, in terms of the commercialization question, is this very much focused on yes, and the future, ideally where you want to go? Have you thought about a pathway to get your innovation, assuming you prove the concept? So if you approve the concept, what are your plans for the future? So if you think about DFT looking for their value for money, they are not just funding research. They don't just want to fund research. What they want to fund is the ability to kickstart an innovation that will go through to commercialization, that will benefit UK PLC, that will help reduce environmental impact, and will help the users in the transport system. So you've got to think about this as a journey. The kickstarting money is what TRIG provides. The commercialization is what we hope that you will think about. You're not going to start an innovation if you're not going to get to commercial, you hope to get to commercialization stage. So you need to show us what thought process that you have done to get that to commercialization, where you think it's going to best be sold, I suppose, in that question, or to whom, or that kind of thing. So you've got to think about the potential in the future. So yes, Lenny. Does publications in industry magazines fall within notable achievements? Yes, absolutely. That does. So would you want to see figures within, if you've got them, if you've thought about them, then please put them in there. I would be very, very careful in putting figures in though. This is what I say, because when you think about when you're going to fund your innovation, when you get it commercialization, when businesses are valued and all that kind of thing, you may say, well, I expect my business, my innovation to make £10 million in its first year of commercialization. If you're going to put those kind of figures, then we would need some form of backup as to why you've come up with that figure. So what we're really interested in is the pathway to commercialization and where you think it can go. We have no more open questions. Is there any more? My pleasure, Lenny. Are there any more questions? Now, we will be staying online until 11 o'clock. So anybody that may or may not join, rejoin, newly join, we are available. Oh, there we are. Frank. My industrial partner has internal processes to degree support, which may not be complete. Is it okay to indicate support is highly low? If they have agreed in principle, then yes, please put that in there. And with a, if they've agreed in principle, what are the risks? And this is where we come to the Gantt chart and the risks and the mitigations. So you're saying that, yes, they've agreed in principle, but they have internal processes to agree before they can sign on the dotted line that they are going to assist. That is a risk that they may not. So you need to just identify that you've got it agreed in principle, where you are in the process. The risk is they may not sign, but that risk is 0 or 1%, 2%. And if the risk does materialize, what's your backup plan? EDR is referred to in a number of questions. We have a limited workout. So yes, if you'd like to, you can do that. I mean, there is a section in the application form specifically for EDI. So if you want to put the bulk of it in there, and then as referred to in question X, Y, and Z, that's absolutely fine. Just checking, see my question didn't catch response, but we'll find on a train with Kinder. Anna, can you just check back whether we've answered Andrew's question? I don't remember seeing a question from Andrew. Not a problem, Frank. I don't remember seeing a question from you, Andrew. Do you want to just type it again? I don't think we have seen. No, we haven't. So, Andrew, if you want to type your question again, that would be great. Lenny, in answer to that question, if you are working with rail providers, then you need to say who they are. We don't need a letter of support, but we need you to provide confidence to us that they will not just back out. Same as we've just answered for Frank. There's a risk in Frank's project, that a slight risk, that they may not sign on the dotted line to say they will be your partner because they're going through internal processes. So we don't need a letter of support, but we do need you to provide us confidence that they're not going to back out, that you have something in place. You can say, you might have the letter of support there, but you can't attach it. That's what I'm saying. You can say to us, we have a letter of support from X, Y, and Z that they will be our partner for this project. So you need to provide us with confidence that those partners are there, they are going to work with you, and they are not going to back out. Andrew, if you can't, if your connection is running out, then or coming in and out, just email the TRIG inbox with the question, and we will answer it from there. Anna, do you want to answer that one? I don't think we have any naming conventions. No,
I love the fact that they're being suggested, though. That's brilliant. I mean, if you name company name TRIG 23 Gantt, that would be absolutely perfect. That's exactly what I would do and what I would expect for stuff like that. So yeah, that's a fantastic approach to take. We'd appreciate it.
Thank you. When we use the attachment on the project to include further, no. We are unable to accept anything apart from the one document in that section. So if you have any, the risk register, this one comes up quite a lot. Can you please tell us you have a risk register and that everything's there? Put as much detail as you can in your Gantt chart, but we're unable to upload anything more than the one Gantt chart or the one Excel spreadsheet or however you've done it to show your timelines, your deliverables for the 6 months project. Hope that answers your question, Andrew. And if you've cut out, it will be on the recording. And if you want to contact us, if you can't hear the recording or anything, just email us at the TRIG inbox. Interviews, Mark, will be would not be face-to-face, sorry. They'll be remote, they'll be virtual, and we will be setting those up as soon as we have decided who is going to go to interview stage. So they will be virtual. Not a problem, Michelle. Is the final report that needs to be submitted? It is, but as I mentioned earlier, don't need to worry about any of that. This is all to see whether you to get your application submitted. Anybody that is successful enough to be able to be awarded a grant will be given hand-holding, support, guidance, and everything to enable you to get that final reporting done. My pleasure, Andrew. Any more questions? As I said, we're here. Have a think. Any more questions? We will stay online until close to 11 o'clock. So if there is any more, then we're here. Thank you, Gerald. Pleasure, Brian.
Got a question just come through from Mark Ruth saying, is funding defined by deliverables?
I'm not sure 100% know what you mean by that. When we assess the application, we look at what you will deliver, how innovative the project is, the same as the scoring sheet. Do you mean how much funding is defined by deliverables? If you could just explain that a little bit further, Mark, that would be great. You're more than welcome to come off mute and ask me that question if you'd like, or just give a little bit more around that. That would be fantastic. Whilst I'm waiting for Mark to either give me more information on the funding defined by deliverables, I will answer the next question. In relation to the technical innovation question, we are still at very early stage and would need to complete high-level detailed design. Should we give an example of the tech we believe would be used? That, I think, is a scope question. I am unable to answer and guarantee an answer on whether you should give an example. I mean, the projects that we fund under TRIG are actually they're all very early stage. So if you do need to put in there what you need to do. So if you're going to give an example of the tech you would use, for example, then yes, actually you should put that in there. But as long as you give confidence to us that you know what tech you will be using and you have thought about the tech you're going to use and how you're going to use it. I hope that answers. I know that wasn't the best answer in the world, But you need to put into that innovation section how your project is innovative and the technology you would use that you're making it innovative. Blockchain, not innovative, it's already there. But yeah, if you are using it, then put it in there. Not a problem. Thank you.
Ruth, I'm just going to dive in here and I will unmute Mark from the list of participants. And so, Mark, I'm going to do that now and it should pop up that you are able to talk. Just give me 2 shakes. Right. There we are.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I was busy typing. Okay, I'm not the quickest.
That's all right.
So yeah, no, I'm new to this process as well, and I'm just thinking in terms of building up the business case or the payment schedule. I was just going to give you an example of I will need to do some stakeholder engagement. That may be 1, 2, 3, 10 workshops, or it could be interviews. It's not yet defined. Would I then just put stakeholder engagement at £2.50, and then the deliverable is a stakeholder engagement report, and therefore I get £2.50?
Put in your budget the maximum amount that you think you might spend on delivering or creating and getting that stakeholder engagement feedback. So if, for example, I mean, you say £2.50, if it costs £2.50 to get that and no overheads or anything, then put, the whole amount. If you say up to 10, I would recommend putting in the budget for 10. Do the maximum amount up to £45,000, because the ability to come back and ask for more is not there. So once you've decided on your budget, if you're successful and we've agreed your budget, you can't then go, oops, I need a little bit more. That won't happen. You can always say you spent less, not a problem. So in the budget, you'd put the cost of that, and then in your application, you'd say that you are going to, your deliverables are the stakeholder engagement.
Okay, so it's kind of there's a ceiling amount that you can charge for that specific deliverable.
No, but if that's the one deliverable that you're doing, we would probably question that probably isn't a very robust research using one deliverable. We would expect probably more than one deliverable. Not necessarily. It's not, we're not going to completely say, no, you can only have one deliverable. There isn't a maximum, but if you're saying that is totally integral to your project, just explain why. So if you want to use, I don't know, £20,000 of the 45,000 for that stakeholder engagement, then please tell us why, because it's not so much we're going to say, no, you can't. We're just going to say, why do you need £20,000 for it?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it will be it's a sensible component to build up kind of the socialization of the idea and getting valuable feedback into the process.
Yes, that's fantastic.
But I guess if you had, and there'll be a number of these within the proposal, and so can you play a tune on it in terms of, well, actually we did put £1,000 for that activity, we've underspent for that component, but we've underspent there, but now we've overspent somewhere else. Yeah. Can you, through the process, kind of go, look, we did this, it was an estimate, it's cost a bit more this side, can we then claim that cost?
Absolutely. I mean, this is if you're successful with TRIG. So if you put a certain amount in there for stakeholder engagement surveys, you underspend on that, but you're going to spend more on salary time. What you would do is then send us a project change request to say, look, the value of the budget is exactly the same. We're just reallocating. And that is absolutely fine.
Good.
Thank you, Mark. The webinar will be recorded, well, it is being recorded, and yes, it will be shared. I'm just going to go back to the question that, excuse me, what's the earliest possible project start date? So the project start date will be the 1st of April 2024, and we are not anticipating anybody start on their TRIG projects. I did mention this very early on from yesterday's question. We're not expecting anybody to start their TRIG deliverables before the 1st of April 2024. You will only know 2 or 3 weeks maximum before the start date whether you have been successful, and there's a load of documentation that you need to complete that Anna will chase you for before you can get your 60% of the funding and start your project. We're not stopping you doing your bigger project. If you've got a massive project that's ongoing and that your TRIG deliverables are a small part of that massive project, please keep going. But the TRIG deliverables start on the 1st of April 2024, and we expect the deliverables to be completed by the 30th of September 2024. Can we use disseminate? I'm not quite sure what you mean by can we use dissemination activities as costed items. So if you could, whoever has just asked that question, could you detail a little bit more on that? Is there a travel budget or even limit? So under the other section, what we're doing is we're recommending up to about £500 to travel to events that we organise. There'll be an official launch event, and there will be a showcase event. Those definitely two. There may be others, but we're not guaranteed. But there's definitely going to be a launch event somewhere in the UK and a showcase event somewhere in the UK. So we're saying, you know, put an amount in there for that. If you need to have travel as part of your deliverables. So for example, we'll use Mark as an example here. If he was doing his stakeholder engagement surveys face-to-face, somewhere in Scotland, somewhere in Northern Ireland, somewhere in London or the Southeast or Cornwall, and he really needed to travel to all those different places to do those stakeholder engagements face-to-face, then we would expect an element of travel to be put into the budget, because that is an absolutely direct cost for deliverables of the project. Hopefully that answers that question, apart from the dissemination of activities for costed items. So whoever wrote that question, if you could just give me a little bit more information on that middle question, I would be really grateful, and then hopefully I can answer it successfully. Yeah, so hopefully that's answered that. So if you are running a workshop style event, webinar, if you have to go face-to-face somewhere, then or do anything, then put the cost in there. So if there is a direct cost related to the deliverables of your project, then please put a line, a costing in the budget for that. So if you are running a workshop and it is in a building that you need to hire, you need to incentivize people to get there, and those, put that in the budget as a line, as a cost in the budget, and then provide us with a sensible reasoning and explanation as to why you are doing that. Hopefully that answers anything, and thank you, Jamie. And we're going to be online for about another 5 or 6 minutes. If anybody has any questions, again, the recording will go on the website. If there's any specific, I don't think there's any questions on here that we haven't answered in the FAQs already. We may update, Anna, the budget one about travel and costs, but we'll take that offline. Yep, so we won't be updating the FAQs. There's loads of information in there over the last few webinars. Hopefully, yes, wonderful. Thank you. We have also online with us, I know it's in the last 5 or 6 minutes, but I have been busy talking. We have Nick Woodward online, who is our academic engagement manager. So if we have got any if we have, I'm just laughing now. Sorry, if we have got any academia on the call at the moment, and you have any specific academia questions, then Nick is here to answer that. To the anonymous attendee, where do we send flowers and chocolates? Unfortunately, we're unable to accept any gifts or anything, as that is against the rules. But thank you for the sentiment. No, 5 more minutes. If there's any academics on the call that would like to have a quick chat with Nick, please raise your hand.
You see that we've got a question coming in anonymously, probably one for you, Nick. It's involvement of any academic partner. Is that at 100%?
Yes.
Brilliant. Succinct. There's the answer.
So if you are an academic that is going to apply, you can do it 100%. Involvement, is 100%. But if you want to involve an industry partner or an SME or a collaboration, then you are more than happy to do so. More than welcome to do so, even. Does that answer your question, the person that wrote that? I'm assuming so. That's good. So in a couple of minutes, we will be logging off, unless anybody has any more specific questions. Again, you are more than welcome to email the TRIG inbox. Anna, if you could put that in the chat, not the Q&A, in the chat, that would be great. So it will be there for everybody to have a look at. Remember that applications close at 23:59 on Monday, the 27th of November, 2023, and late submissions will not be accepted. So please bear that in mind when you are asking questions and when you think about your time frame. We are very, very aware that these applications, although they're quite good, in sense of they're quite structured, they do take some time to answer. So if listing a co-lead, what extra steps versus the applying lead do we need to cover? So what we ask for is one person to be as the main lead. So the application does not allow for 50-50 joint leads. You have to specify who is the main lead, and then in the second in the explaining box, you need to say who else are you applying with. We recommend that you have a collaboration agreement in place if you are splitting the funding 50-50. However, we will only provide funding to the main lead. So if your budget's 45,000, that 45,000 will go to the bank account that we have checked of the main lead. If you have a co-lead, it is up to yourself to ensure that that dissemination of funding is undertaken correctly. Hopefully that has answered that. Would a co-lead, for example, need to be present for interview stages? Would you need to appear at the... it would be great if they were. Some of the best interviews that we had for TRIG 2022 was when all the partners turned up, because what it shows is a collaborative approach, that you're all working together and you all know the common goal for your project. So if you have a co-lead, then yes, please be present for the interview stages, and I would say as many as possible to appear for the interview. We don't want like 20 people turning up. However, if you have a consortium of 5 partners, one from each of those partners to turn up at the interview stage, absolutely brilliant. What is really important is that you show a cohesive approach to your project, and if your partners and collaborators are there, that is so much more the better. Right, unless there's no more questions to come, we are going to close the Q&A now. Thank you very much for attending. Thank you very much. Oh, that's it, brilliant. Thought there was going to be another question then. That's our pleasure, Ivan. The recording will go onto the opportunity page of the CPC website for TRIG. Any questions that you have that you don't feel have been answered sufficiently, or you think of any others, then please do messages at the TRIG inbox as soon as possible, bearing in mind we're now a couple of weeks to closure of the application process, and we will need to answer your questions as soon as possible. And if there's no further questions, that's fine, Lenny. Yes, I will come to that one. It may not be this afternoon, but I will definitely answer it tomorrow for you. Thank you, and we will, if we can figure out how to end the recording. Anna, could you end the meeting, please?
Yes, I will. Thanks
Wonderful.
again.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.